All right, YouTube, it's Mr. Mean coming at you again from beautiful Beaumont, Texas. It is a gorgeous day outside. You can probably see there's a little sunlight glare on the old spectacles there. Today's video du jour is it's a real simple one. It's honor and treachery. I know mostly it's RPG reviews, but hey, I wanted to mix it up a little bit. Honor and treachery is the two-player starter set from Cool Mini or Not for Wrath of Kings. If you're a role player, miniature games aren't too far out of your wheelhouse. And I say that because I'm a diehard role player. I'm a GM. I run mini games. I play in a couple games. I prefer to GM, but most GMs of my age use miniatures. A lot of us do. A lot of us do theater of the mind, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like theater of the mind, but I like miniatures, and it's a natural progression from tabletop RPG to miniature games, especially with gateway games like Mordheim, which still has a huge following from Games Workshop. You can still buy the miniatures. The rules, I think, are online for free now. You just got to do a search for them. Ash over at Gorilla Miniatures, his Out of the Basement series on YouTube. Check it out if you haven't seen it. I'll try to put a link in the show notes below. I'm still getting used to this whole YouTube. You think after like 15 videos I'd have it figured out, but I'm not. I'm not that smart. I'm kind of big and dumb. But anyway, Ash does a great video series on Mordheim, and so if you're interested in that kind of thing and you want a campaign style game, that's definitely one to check. There's a new one on the market called Frostgrave, and I don't have my books, they're in the other room, but Frostgrave, phenomenal setting. I've yet to get to play, but I am building a starting warband. And again, if you're a GM and you want to tell a story, Frostgrave, Mordheim, even Necromunda, great gateway games to do that because there's a narrative campaign. So it's almost like an RPG in the fact that you're telling a story. You're just, instead of having a bunch of different players controlling one guy, you're controlling a squad or a troop or a band or a group. And it's a lot of fun. I really dig the miniatures games. My good friend Brian Isakoff and I, years ago, back in the 90s, every 4th of July weekend, at least for I think 3-4 years in a row, we did beer and battle. We even gave out little certificates. I think the first year I won first place or second place with my Chaos Warband of Nurgle. We had like 1,500 point, 1,000 point warband, I think, and we played and we barbecued and we did beer. So again, social event, a lot of fun. But anyway, gateway games, Mordheim, Necromunda, Frostgrave, outstanding games. Pick them all up. They're all great. I mean, Frostgrave you can get into for as little as $50. I mean, the rule book on Amazon I think is like $17 for the core rule book. It's hardback. I'll do a separate review on that one because it's about due. Because I think it's a phenomenal game. We're getting ready to have a game day in Humble, which is about an hour and a half away from me here in Beaumont. And we're going to do a game day. There's a couple of us that are on Facebook as the Houston, Texas Frostgrave group or something like that. And those guys have been super cool, and they know I live a little ways away, so they've offered to kick in some miniatures so I don't have to lug a bunch of stuff with me. But I think either way, I'm going one way or the other, and I think we're doing it next weekend. But anyway, if you're in the area, hey, stop in at Etten Games and say hi. But back to Honor and Treachery. This is a two-player starter set. Comes with enough stuff, 6 dice, a bunch of wound tokens, the stat cards. This is one of the games that uses stat cards instead of a printout or a giant book with a whole bunch of stats in it. You have a little card, like a playing card. Show you the back there a little bit. Really cool stuff. You get a bunch of miniatures. I think it's about 15-16 miniatures total. You get the Goritsi and the Nasir. The Nasir are pretty cool. They're humans who basically bind elemental/demons into a mask, and then they fuse that mask to their face, and they become powerful. They become stronger warriors. And so they're all about one-on-one combat. And they like their swordsmen in honor. Think samurai, very honorable, very one-on-one combat, mano a mano. The Goritsi are actually ruled by vampires, and werewolves are their protectors. And so, if you remember the old miniature game Confrontation, then the Goritsi will be very familiar to you, because I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, the guys that did the models for Confrontation are some of the same sculptors for this series. So the werewolves of the Goritsi look a lot like the werewolves from Confrontation. So this is the standard box. I'll segue into this. I got it on miniaturemarket.com for, I think, $35 plus shipping. So it came out to under $40 all said and done, and phenomenal. I mean, you can't beat it for 20 miniatures, roughly, I think 15, 20 miniatures. The dice comes with a little one sheet of paper that is basically the rules. It's a D10 system. So you get a little pack of D10. I think there's 6 D10 in here, so 3 on each side. You probably won't need more than that. I'd recommend getting 3 different colored D10 so that you don't, mix them up between the players. You get a bunch of bases in the box, a base for each miniature. I separated my miniatures because I'm going in halvesies with a friend of mine. He's going to pay me $15, and he's going to take the Nasir off my hand so that he has the basics of a starting warband. Because the nice thing about Wrath of Kings is it scales. You can start as a skirmish game with just a couple models. I think in this case it's like 7 or 9 in here. And then you can scale up to 20, 30, 40 guys. You can have full-on, major war. So it's pretty cool. I don't have a decent camera, so I'm not even going to try to show the quality of these by holding them up to the camera. I haven't pulled them out. They each come individually bagged, which is kind of cool because then all the parts are together. And you don't have to worry about it. One of the cool things I really like is this was from one of their other games, and I don't know, I think it was one of their board games, and they were using them, Cool Mini or Not was using them in their video demos when they were kickstarting Wrath of Kings, which I unfortunately did not back, and I kicked myself because it was a phenomenal deal. But again, I went on miniaturemarket.com, not that this is an ad for them, but it sounds like it. And I got they had like a starter box that came with 2 big heroes and then some minor heroes and then a bunch of line troops. I think I got something like 30 or 40 something miniatures for like right at $50. So it wasn't a terrible deal. Comes with all the stat cards and the bases and everything. I got them all put together. They're not painted or primed yet, but I don't have, as you can see, this is going to be turned into a baby's room, as I've said in previous videos, because my wife is 21 weeks pregnant as of today. So congratulations to her. She's awesome and beautiful, and she puts up with me. So come on, she's got to be a saint. The nice part is we just had our baby exam because we both got medical insurance starting on yesterday. And aside from that, for the personal people that know me, the baby is healthy. All the sonograms and the markers and everything that they do for Down syndrome and fetal syndromes and everything all came back negative. So far we got the genetic testing we still have to do, but so far everything looks great. So anyway, aside from that, back to this. They were using these on their demos, and they're just, let me pull one of them out here. They're just little health tokens because most of the models don't have more than 1 or 2, possibly 3 wounds. So it's just a little heart, but it just symbolizes a wound. And it was great because they put them next to the miniature, and you would know that miniature was wounded. And you could use tokens, you could use, a die, you could use a little tiny D6. Lord knows you can use just about anything. But it was just neat that they are making those available, and a lot of people, me included, had asked, "Hey, when are we going to be able to buy those?" Because I'd pay $10 for a sack of those to use as wound markers because they work in just about any miniatures game. Because hey, it's a blood red heart, you're wounded. So anyway, they put them in there, and I think it's awesome. The box comes compartmentalized, as you can see. One side had the dice and the cards on it, and the other side had all the miniatures. Like I said, I segregated the Nasir out of the Goritsi for my buddy Frank. And then, so that's how you get it. And it comes with 2 sheets of paper. One is a beginning scenario. Oh, I'm sorry, I lied. It came with some cardboard punch out, some heavy card for terrain. So you don't even need terrain. I mean, everything you need is in this box. So for $30, $40, it's a hell of a deal to get into a game that is the rules fit on one sheet of paper, front and back. You can't beat that. I mean, it's easy. It's a D10 system. You have stack cards. So as you can see, the artwork is phenomenal. We even have female werewolves. Hey, can't beat that. Claws and boobs. And so, and the art is phenomenal. And on the back is all their special abilities that they can do. And on the front is, their basic abilities right here. And then this is the wound track. So basically, when you're attacking this character, you will roll whatever dice your D10s. It's a D10 based system, but you'll roll however many attacks you have, a D10 for each attack, and then you'll reference this chart right here, and it'll tell you the little symbols mean something. So a 7, 8, 9 is a hit. A 10 for almost, I think, every character in the game is a critical hit. So if you roll a 10 and you're attacking my score as a skirmisher, and you roll a 10, that's 2 wounds. So this character only has 2 wounds, but the little red blood drop that you see down there. And then they have a defense of 1. So it means they block 1 hit automatically. So you almost have to gang up on this guy to do any damage. But some of these hits can, like I said, a 10 is a critical. So anybody can be taken out with a 10 or severely wounded. This guy, the shield breaker, he's just a beast. He has a big, huge 2-handed axe, and is exactly what he does. He breaks shields. He has 3 wounds, so he's the big boy of the group. And then the Scorza Alpha, which is like, I believe, the leader. Yes, he is a leader. And the shield breaker is a specialist. So you have troops, leaders, and specialists, I believe, is the 3 different categories. There is magic in the game, so you get different specialized spells. The Goritsi werewolves do not specialize in magic. They are all about, claw your face off and eat your heart out. The vampires do some magic, and of course they have their own set of special abilities. The vampire models were not to my liking. I didn't like the sculpts. They were cool, just not my cup of tea. I didn't like them. So when the game was in Kickstarter, and that's what I first saw, I just was kind of turned off. So I kind of ignored it. And then I saw the Nasir, and I'm huge. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm really big into like L5R and Samurai and all that stuff. So I was like, oh God, I got to back this. But by the time, I think I was at work, and by the time I got home, it was too late. The Kickstarter had ended, and I couldn't get in on it. And I was like, I think at the time we were moving from Arizona to Louisiana, so I didn't really have the money to kick into it anyway. So unfortunately, I missed out on a really cool Kickstarter. But I did get the rule book. Again, I bought all my stuff from Miniature Market, but just because they had an awesome sale, I got the rule book for I think $20. And it's hardback. I don't have it here with me. It's in a box behind me. But as a gateway game, again, if you're a GM and you're a player and you want to try miniature games and you don't want to sink a ton of money into it, I think this is a great way to go, because you can get one other friend. Heck, you could even play this by yourself. I mean, you don't need I think it's a 2x2 board is what it recommends. And then, I mean, that's a coffee table. That's an end table in your house. That's a hobby table, for your gaming group. And it comes with the terrain. It's 2D terrain, but it's heavy card. It'll hold up to some use, and you can use it in your RPG games. So there you go. And then you've got a lot of cool miniatures that you can put together. I will tell budding hobbyist and a miniaturist and mini gamers, if you're new to the hobby, do not be intimidated by the miniatures. I hear so many times from gamers that don't want to get in. They're intrigued by miniature games because they're like, John, you do it all. You just got to do it. It's like putting a model together. If you're a young kid of the 80s and the 90s and now, you've put at least one model together. And if you haven't, now's the time to start. I mean, we all start. I started with snap tight models, and I think they still make them. They literally no glue. You just got your parents to help clip everything off, and then you just clicked everything together, and you made really cool models. I was a helicopter fanatic when I was a teenager. I had all these helicopters hanging from my ceiling that my stepdad helped me put up, and it was just, and I built them all, so it was a sense of accomplishment, and I think it's really cool. So what I would say is, if you're starting out and if you're already an RPG gamer and you want to make that jump, something like this is the way to go. Starter set, not very much money. I mean, this is cheaper than most RPG books now. Most RPG books are $50, $60 a pop for a new RPG. And you can get into this for, under 40 right now at Miniature Market, and I think Amazon even has it for roughly the same price. So again, dirt cheap, cool mini or not. Wrath of Kings, Honor and Treachery, the Battle of Ravenwood, and it comes with some generic scenery in there that's supposed to be Ravenwood, and it gives you a scenario, and then you go for that. And so, super easy game. Miniatures are extremely detailed, but not hard to put together. Use super glue. I know it looks like plastic, but it's a type of resin plastic, I believe. And regular model cement will not hold the miniatures. I found that out the hard way when I was trying to put my Nasir together, all 40, 50 models, and they just kept falling apart. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? Again, internet, great source of information. I went on there, and someone said, oh, you got to use plastic cement. You got to use super glue. And so I got some super glue, and boom, they ain't coming apart now. And the models are very well casted, not much flash. They're plastic. Like I said, they're individually wrapped. So what you can do is, what I did with my Nasir, because there's mold release on these. For those of you that don't know, they press these in a mold, and they inject plastic into a mold, and then it fills in all the nook and crannies, and then they pop the mold open, and these guys fall out. Well, just like cooking an egg, you put some nonstick spray or some butter in the pan to keep the egg from sticking. Same kind of deal. So what you do is just get you a nice bowl with some warm soapy water, some Dawn dish detergent, warm water, and I rip them open, drop them in the water, swish them around a little bit, put them on a terry cloth towel, dry them off, set them off to the side. And then I do the same thing. I do like 4 or 5, and then by the time I'm done with the fifth one, I go back to the first one and I start assembling it. And when I get that batch done, I do another batch. You can do it any way you want. I don't recommend cutting them all open and dropping them in soap, because the miniatures are slightly different and they pose differently, and you don't want to get these parts messed up. It would be kind of a pain in the butt. But these are heroic scale 28 millimeter. I'd say they're more, the werewolves are definitely closer to 30 millimeter, even 32 millimeter. They're big, herky models. If you remember Confrontation, they're not quite as big, but they're pretty darn close. So, I mean, that's one dude, and you can see that's pretty chunky. So they're going to be easy to paint, even if you're not a good painter. I will say the one thing about painting miniatures, just to segue out of that, you get better by doing it. I mean, Soshi is one. She's on Facebook, and I think she's on YouTube as well. Phenomenal painter. There's a number of them out there. Ash off of Gorilla Miniatures, and his YouTube channel, phenomenal painter. And they'll all tell you the same thing. Just paint. You'll get better by doing it. Watch a couple tutorials. Read a couple books. It's not really hard. I mean, and thin your paints, clean your brushes. I would recommend buying good brushes. I use the Army Painter brushes. I think they're phenomenal. I use the Army Painter products. I really like them. You can go to your local hobby or your local hardware store and Rustoleum. Don't spend the 30 or 20. I think it's $17, $20 for the Games Workshop primer. Even the Army Painter primer is a little bit expensive. They do work good, I'm not going to lie, but they're no different than this stuff right here. This stuff is phenomenal, covers great, works good, and it's, I believe this was $3. So miniatures don't have to break the bank. You can do it relatively cheap, and I mean, for the cost of 3-4 of these bottles, one bottle of Games Workshop, I mean, come on. You're paying for a name. Shop smart, shop S smart, and remember your boomstick. So Rustoleum, great stuff, works good on plastic miniatures, works great on metal miniatures. I've had no problem with it. Like I said, you can spend a couple dollars more, and you can get the Army Painter stuff. This is base white matte primer, and I can tell you there is no difference between that and that Rustoleum bottle, except that you're paying for the name. Little hobby tip, after you're done spray painting and you're done with everything, turn it upside down, hit the nozzle till it comes out clear. As soon as it comes out clear, stop. That clears all the paint out of the nozzle, and you won't be wasting paint. You won't gum up your nozzle, and you won't waste a can of paint. Um, so yeah, and remember, do it in a clear, ventilated space. Um, but that's just on that little note. I got to get that out of here. The wife's going to kill me, by the way. So Honor and Treachery, $40, I believe, cheaper on Amazon or Miniature Market. The War Store may have it. Another great place I buy stuff from. If you're looking to make that transition from RPGs to miniatures, this is a great way to do it. The armies all have their own specific motivations. They even tell you create new motivations, so you can make little campaigns. So again, Honor and Treachery starter set, Goritsi and Nasir starter factions. You get about 7-8 models each. So it's not so much that you have to, you're going to be intimidated by the amount. And they go together really nicely. They all slot together. So it's pretty cool. If you're a little bit on the younger side, you want to get your parents to help you with the hobby knife and the spray painting, and then just get a basic water-based paint set. I recommend Army Painter, but Reaper Miniatures has their own line of paints. They're phenomenal, called Master Series. Really good paints. Games Workshop has good paints as well. So get what's in your price range and what works for you. And this is good stuff, man. Make that transition from RPGs to miniatures. We've all had those times when our gaming group falls apart and we're only 2 guys show up, and you're like, well, what do we do now? Yeah, you can always play a board game, but even board games nowadays require 3-4 people. You bust out with this, and you have a quick game, and you can play it in an hour or less, and you have a lot of fun, and you get to tell a cool little narrative story if you so desire, and you can have fun with it. So, and you've got cool miniatures for your RPG games. If you're playing a fantasy game, who doesn't have werewolves in their fantasy game, or who doesn't have psychotic samurai? You can make this work, and you can multi-purpose it, and you can save money because now you got a bunch of miniatures that you don't necessarily have to go out and buy for your RPG. You've got a bunch that you can use for this, and there's several different factions. I'm not going to go over all the factions because I don't know them, but check it out. It's Cool Mini or Not. You can go to their website and check it out. Honor and Treachery comes with a bunch of cool stuff, and like I said, you can't beat the price. A lot of people have it on sale. It just came out, I guess, last month. And I can't rant enough about it. I think it's really cool for that price point, for that amount of miniatures, that quality of miniatures, the beginning scenario, the terrain that comes in there. It's everything you need to get started, and you can go from there. You can move out, and you can buy more miniatures. You can start making your own scenery. I've even had days where me and a couple of friends would get together and we would make terrain. We had an idea for a table, and we made terrain, out of balsa wood and MDF and styrofoam and stuff like that. I work in IT, so I always have access to styrofoam. So it's not hard, guys. You can make this a lot of fun with a little bit of work, and you'll be amazed at how much creativity comes out of it, especially for your little brothers, your sons, your nephews, or whatever. Get them involved, get them in that hobby early, get them doing this instead of sitting in front of that TV playing, Pac-Man or whatever computer game, Battlefront or whatever. Get them doing something, using their mind, being creative. And I think they'll, in the long run, when they get older, they'll thank you for it. I know I plan on doing it with my son. I can't wait. It's a little gamer in training, and this goober is going to have a lot of fun with his games and his son. So anyway, that's Mr. Mean again, another video du jour. Always, as always, give a thumbs up and a like. I appreciate it. We're going to go back to some RPG reviews here real soon. But I just wanted to get that out there because I thought it was a really cool product, and I thought it was worth every bang for the buck. So have fun gaming. May your dice always roll crits, and peace and hair grease. I'm out.